Hi, I'm Alexander Maxim from PHP. Today we'll continue our series about PHP. In this tutorial, we will continue the parts we learned in the previous tutorials. Today we will see another type of filtering like the filter validate and filter sanitize, thus the filter callback, and some functions filter var array, filter input, and filter input array, that they form the third part of the filters. And we will also study the second part about the files, as it's a tutorial with medium level. We will ignore the simple methods used to manage the files systems, but they are very important. The two things we will see today for files are how to upload a file or an image, and how to use the function fseek to read and write in a specific position. So let's start. We'll start with the filter callback. What's the filter callback? Is a filter like the filters that we have studied in the previous tutorials. The word call in English, thus to say a call to person, for example, or something, and the word back or in back don't appear. So the callback means to call something back. The callback will call a function in the page. The callback will be in the third parameter of the method filter var. We have the parameter that is an array. With the key options, we must put the name of the function. You can do what you want in the function to be a filter, to validate or sanitize or write something. You can do whatever you want. The term callback function is well known in the web on all programming languages. We will make an example to understand how to use it and why to use it. Let's see how it works. So we have three filters: filter validate, filter sanitize, and filter callback. So the callback function is known on the web and also in, for example, the Java language, JavaScript language, and PHP. So this is the front of the page. The execution will be here. It will start the execution from the filter var. We have the variable which is age f, which is in the $globals array. We have learned the $globals array in the previous tutorials, you can see it. And we have the filter callback as second parameter to the filter var method. And the third parameter, which is the array, we have in the options the name of the function. The name of the function is sanitize number. So when the execution or when the pointer is here, it will search in the page if we have the function sanitize number. So it will turn in the page and its look don't appear in the browser. It will search for the function sanitize number. We can do anything in this function. We can print, we can use the filter var as this example. We can do anything in this function. So when the user, for example, enter the age, we will recover the age and we'll use the filter callback. Here we can call a function to do anything for this age. In this example, I will sanitize the number. I will clean the characters from this number using the filter var filter sanitize number int, and it will return to this point after execution the function. This is the filter callback. Let's see an example to understand it more. So we have functions filter.html, we have the email, age, and username, and we have the button send. So when we open the functions filter.html page, we have a form with the method post. The action is function filter.php, which is now almost empty. I will just get the values in this page. And we have a table with the TD. The first table data is email, and the second is the input with the name email, and the second age with the name age, and the third username with the name username. Then we have the input submit with the value send, which is the button here. When we enter something and when we click on send, we will get the page functions filter.php. So in this page I will get the value of the email that the user entered using the $_post and the key email in this array. I will get the value and make it in the email variable and in the age and username. Let's see now how to apply the callback function. So we have the callback filter, which is a comment, and here the end of the callback filter. Here I will use the filter var with the globals variable, which is agef. Agef is the content of the age entered by the user that we have recovered here. So just I will use a globals variable to use it in the function, and I will use filter callback, then the array with the options, and the option will contain the name of the function, which is function here sanitize number. Inside the function I will make a variable. The content or the value of this variable is the result of the filter var after sanitization, the number or the age that we have entered here, or that the user entered. Then I will use echo to print the age after sanitization. So inside the function I will clean all the characters and keep just the digits, and I will use echo to print it. So the execution will ignore this function, then it will execute filter var. It will get this value for this variable and execute the filter callback. Then when it executes this array, it will see the name of the function here. So it will execute this function, or it will call this function in the back, and the pointer will be here. We'll wait the execution of the function. When the system executes this function and when it printed the value of the variable after sanitization, it will be here. Then I will use echo, for example, to print anything like thanks or anything. So it will execute this function in this place here, and then it will use echo to print thanks. Let's reload and see the result. And when we enter, for example, the age 25B, it will return 25 after sanitization and the word thanks. This is the filter callback. After the filter callback, I have the filter var array. What's the filter var array? If we have a registration form as the example that we always take, and we have to filter all the inputs, for that we will use the filter var function several times. That's correct, but not the better. To improve our code and to optimize the execution time, PHP offers an important function, filter var array. This function accepts two parameters, or we can say two arrays. The first contains the values entered by the user, or the values that we want to filter, and the second is the args or arguments. This array contains the filters for each element or for each value of the previous array. To detail, the filter var function contains three parameters: the variable, the filter, and finally the options and the flags. It's for the first variable, and if we have another variable, we will apply the same rule. To combine between them, we will use the variable name as a key and the other parameters as values for that key. It's a little difficult. We will do an example to understand it. But firstly, let's see how it works, or the idea. So we are in the filter var. For each variable, variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, I will use filter var to apply the filter or the type of the filter for this variable. To combine between them, I will use the filter var array. I will pass the variables as data as an array for this function. I will pass the filters as also an array for this function, and it will combine between them and return another array and apply all the filters for these variables. So when we use print r, it will print the values after sanitization. For example, if we have here the filter sanitize, or the type of filtering is filter sanitize. Let's see an example. So we have an array, the data of user, or the data that the user entered in the input, email and age and username. So the email is the value of the variable email that we have recovered here, and the age is also the variable or the value of the variable age, and the username is the value of the username variable. And we have another array which is filters. For the email that we have entered here, we have the filter sanitize email. For the age, I have the filter, which is filter sanitize number int, and the options, the min range will be 18 and the max range will be 150. And we have the username filter sanitize string. So at place of using filter var for the age, for the email, for the username with the filters for each one, I will create an array to get the variables and an array of filters, and I will combine between them using the filter var array. So I will pass the $data of user, which is the first array or the data or the variables, and the second, which is the filters. I will use echo pre to organize the array. Let's reload and see the results. And when we enter, for example, something like this Alexander, and I will enter my username, which is Alexander, for example, I have alexander@gmail.com without the spaces and without all the characters that I have entered. I have the age without the letter B, and I have the username without the tag of hidden. So the filter var array will combine between all these variables and all these filters using two arrays. So we will pass two arrays for this function, and it will return also an array with these variables or with these values. After the filter var array, we have the filter input array. But firstly, what's the filter input? If you noticed in the previous tutorial, I first recovered the value that the user entered after I used the function filter var using the three parameters. Today, we will see how to use directly a function that will replace the recovery task with the values. The filter input function accepts four parameters. The first parameter is the type. We have 5 types: input get for the method get, input post for the method post, input cookie, input server, and input env. The second parameter is the variable or the name of the input. The third parameter is the filter validate or filter sanitize or filter callback. The fourth parameter is the option or the array of options. It returns the value of the variable on success, false on failure, or null if the variable parameter is not set. Let's see firstly an example to understand the filter input. So the filter input function accepts at least 3 parameters. We have the type, which is input post or input get or anything. In our case, we have in the function filters the method is post, so we will use the filter post. If we have the method get, we will use the input get. Then the name of the input, which is for example here email, or the variable, let's say, and the type of filter validates email. Firstly, this function will return a boolean value, so it will return true or false. If it's false, we will say your email is not valid. If it's true, it's not false, we will say your email is valid. Let's reload and see the results. And when we enter the email anything, for example @a.com, let's reload and your email is valid. And when we enter anything like e@gmail.com, we have your email with the special characters space alexander@gmail.com is not valid. So we can use the input or the filter input as place of the filter var function, because here in the filter var we need firstly to get the variable and to pass it, but using the filter input we will use the type of the method post or get or cookie or anything and the name of the input, then the filter. As we have the filter var array, we have the filter input array. What's the filter input array? Instead of using the filter input function several times, we will use the filter input array function. This function accepts two parameters. The first parameter is the type. As we saw, we have 5 types. The second parameter is the array, contains the filters or replace the parameter of filter input function. Let's see firstly how it works. So we have the filter var array and we have the filter input array. At place of using filter input with the variables, variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, with different filters, for example, or the same filters, we will combine or we will create an array with the variables and the filters. Then we will pass it to the filter input array with the type of the method. Let's see an example to understand it. So we have an array filters input. It's an array, so in the email it's also another array. This array contains the filters. Age also contains the filter sanitized number int and the options as in the previous example. Here the same thing, but here the values are in other array, and here we have combined the values with the filters in the same array. Then I will pass it to the filter input array with the type of the input, which is input post. Let's reload and see the results. And when I enter, for example, the age 25B, you have here 25, and here in the second array, which is for the filter input array, 25 also. And now the second part of the file system will contain the file upload and the fseek method. So we have the upload file. What's the upload file? Firstly, we will take the file upload. We look at almost all types of inputs. Today we will see the type file. How to upload a file or an image, for example, in the database. For that, we need to use the $_files array. There are several types of files. The $_files array will return an array with the name, type, TMP name, error, and size. The name, which is the file name with the extension. The type is the uploaded file type. The TMP name is the file TMP path, and the error is an integer, will return 0 or the number of errors in this file, and the size will be the file size that you uploaded. Let's see how it works. So we have the file upload. When the user click on upload and choose an image, the image will be with this form. When he click on send or upload, it will be transmitted to the server. The $_files array will return this array. So we have the name, the type, the TMP name, the error, and the size. The name is this name, so we will get the image 123 etc.png. This is the name of the image, and the type of the file is image, and the extension is png. The TMP name or the link of the TMP is in the C exam tmp php.tmp. The errors are 0 and the size is this size. So we can store this image in the database. We can store the name of the image and the TMP name. Then we can recover the image using these parameters. So we have, for example, database image 1 with the TMP name 1, image 2 with the TMP name 2, image 3 with the TMP name 3. We can recover them easily. After that, we have the fseek method. What's the fseek method? We have seen the fopen method that accepts two parameters, the file and the opening mode. If we want to add a string in this file, we will use one of the opening mode that allows the writing in the file. And we will use the function fwrite, and it will add the string either in beginning of the file or in the end of the file. If I want to insert a string in a defined place, for that we will use the function fseek. This function accepts three parameters. The first is the file processed by the method of open. The second is the offset, or we can say in which position I will start calculating or doing something. The last parameter is the once. This parameter contains three options. Seek set the position equal to offset, it's by default. Seek car, set position to current location plus offset. And second, set position to the end of the file plus offset, to move to a position before end of the file. The offset must be negative value. Let's see how it works. So using the fopen, we will open this file for reading and writing using the R+, which is also a mode for reading and writing. We will use the fseek method to search a position in a file or to make the pointer in a specified position in the file. The file is passed as parameter, and the once, which is one of these options. And we will use, for example, fwrite to write in a file. And we will pass the fopen variable and the string as parameters to the fwrite method. So we have three options. Seek set, which is by default. The seek set, this is the file. We have welcome from Utopian in this file. The offset will start from 0. So the letter W is the first letter, but the offset of this letter is 0, as the indexes in the arrays. So the letters will be started from 0. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So if I need the offset of the letter E, I will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the offset of the letter E is 6. It will start from the left to the right. And we have the seek car. If we have used the fseek before, and the position in the, for example, in the letter L, using the seek car or the current position or the current offset, we will start the offset from this letter. So we will start from C as the offset number 0, O as offset number 1, etc. If I need F, it will start from C, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the F is the offset 5. So it will start from the left to the right, but in the current offset or in the recent offset. And we have the seek AND. The seek AND will start from the right to the left, from the end of the file. So it will start from N. The offset of N is -1, is a negative value. The offset of the letter A is -2, and so on. Let's see a real example to understand it. So we have the files.html. I have upload image. I will choose an image or a file from my device. Then I will click on upload. And when I click on upload, I have a form with the action files.php. So when we click on upload, this value of the input will be transmitted to the files.php in the method post. But we need to use the enc type, which is multi-parts form data, to send files from the client to the server. We have the label upload image and the input with the type file, and the name also is file. In files.php, I have the $_files array with the name of the input, which is file. I will use printr to print this array. Let's firstly comment this example and reload and see the results. When I choose something, this is the name of the image and the extension, which is JPG. When I click on upload, it will return an array with the name, type, TMP name, error, and size. The name is this name of the image, and this is the extension, and the type is image JPEG, and the TMP name is this folder or this file and the error is 0, we have no error, and the size, this is the size of the image. If I need to get the extension, for example, of the image, I will use the and explode by the dot, so it will separate this name with this, or this string with this string using the dot, and I will pass the $_files array with the name value, or with the value of the name key. If I want, for example, to print just the for example, from the file, I will just print the type. I will just get the key from this array, which is the type, and it will print this value. Let's reload and see the results, and I have image.jpeg. So I can get any value from this array and make it in the database. The next example is for the fseek method. So we have the fopen. I have opened the file.txt for reading. Now for this file has will come from Utopian. I will get the offset 3, so this is 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, so the letter C. I will use seek sets, which is by default. I will write the number 4 in or at this place, at place of the letter C. Let's reload and see the results. And when I open the file, I will get 4 at place of the letter C. Now the offset is 3. I will use the seek current, which starts from this position or this offset. So now I will use the seek car and the offset 5. So I will start from here. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the letter R will be replaced by the number 5. Let's reload and see the results. And we have here number 5 as place of the letter R. And the final example, which is the seek and. So we have the seek and as third option. So I will make the pointer at the end of the file, but -1, which is this letter. I will change the letter n by, for example, -3. Let's reload and see the results. And when we open the file, we will get -3 at place of the letter n. Today we have learned the filter callback, filter var array, filter input array, upload file, and fseek method.